Welcome to our very first episode of a new podcast called This Is Why I'm Sober. We're laughing because we've had quite a bit of technical difficulties, which is expected being the first podcast, of course, but it's okay.
We're
We're just,
here.
we're just flowing.
Resilient in recoveryers.
Yes, resilient recovery years. Anyway, so welcome to this new podcast. My name is Chris Kelly, and
And Abby Rose.
yay. And yeah, we are uh, uh, gratefully and patiently beginning this journey of starting a podcast. Um, as we both understand, the first few episodes are going to be pretty rough, but if you've stuck with us so far, the first 30 seconds of this, we appreciate it.
We love you.
Yay. So this podcast, so Abby and I used to work together, and we decided just through our many conversations at work um, that we really think that we've got a lot of stories to share. We've got experiences to talk about. We have a lot of laughs to and we thought, what better opportunity to share our stories and share our hopes and our fears and our experiences on our paths of recovery from drugs and alcohol. Um, this is why I'm sober is basically just going to be helping those of you guys who are in recovery, that are struggling in recovery, that want to find sobriety, but for whatever reason they're having a hard time. Um, to help you guys just see that living a life of sobriety can be really amazing. And I mean, over the last few months that Abby and I worked together, we just found ourselves just, you know, really sharing our stories, having a ton of fun doing so, which sounds kind of weird, but it is possible to have a really, really great life in recovery. And so we decided that we will just put this thing together and just see what happens. And yeah, we hope that we can really impact some people's lives positively. And as this thing grows and develops, obviously we're going to get better at doing this. But at the end of the day, we have a message to share, and that message is, uh, you know, sobriety is amazing. And I mean, I know 3 years ago when I was deep in my addiction, and over 7 years ago when Abby was deep in hers, we probably would, if we were having this conversation back then, we would both agree that no, sobriety is not an option, because how the hell can we have fun and
Right.
live these lives that we were so um, just immersed in, right?
Hmm.
Without drugs and alcohol. So, with that said, yeah, we'll just do some quick introductions, and then we'll just see what happens after that. So, um, Abby, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing so good. I'm so happy to be here and not frozen on the screen at this moment.
Yay.
I am really proud of us for pushing through the little hurdles, and it really just does go to show of the resilience of recovery. We do have to just continue pushing forward all of the time. A little history of myself. I have been this month in January, I will be 7 years clean off of meth. And in April, I will be 7 years clean off of alcohol and nicotine. And I would have never, like Chris said, have thought it was possible. I tried so many times. Something when I have worked with people in recovery, have asked anybody who has gotten sober, like, how many times did it take you to quit? I've only met like rare unicorns where they're like, it took me one time. I went on this bad trip and I got so scared and I never picked it up again. And it's like, damn, that's all it took. Like, I literally stared death in the face numerous times, and that still wasn't the wake up call for me. And it wasn't until I was tired of my own bullshit all the way to where it was like, I need to do something different. And I didn't know at that point either if my life could continue going forward. It's now, I'm almost to my seventh year in sobriety with alcohol. But that was the only way I could go and socialize and dance and do all the things I loved in those ways. It wasn't until June of 2024, nope, even sooner. Anyway, within the last year and a half or so, year-ish span, I'd have to look at my journal, that I was even able to dance at a musical function sober. I would always dance at home, but these are things that we have to learn beyond our shenanigans and beyond our self-medicating and beyond our liquid courage and all of the things to accomplish. But that's what I love the most is when we do talk about our stories and our journey to get here is that we built something on still being ourselves, still being authentic, still enjoying life. I didn't have to go freaking put on a nun outfit and give myself only to like certain restrictive things anymore. I'm still me. I'm still a free spirit. I still enjoy living. And so it's been fun along the way to figure out how to do that and how to be brave. And I'm excited to share that with everybody because it really is just little minor adjustments that we make in our everyday that can keep the space with sobriety. But then it's also putting ourselves into the uncomfortable moments, putting ourselves into the moments where we don't think we can do it sober, but we get through it and we live through it. It doesn't kill us. And yeah, there's probably a lot of humility, humbling things that will occur as well, but it all adds up to the strength that gives us the freedom to be ourselves. And I dare say I'm the freest I've ever been because I have control over my choices. I have control over my money being spent. I have control over who I'm letting around my body because I'm not lowering my vibrations so low that it's just a free for all of just fuckery. So I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful that we are following through and starting this podcast because I think it really does need to have a light shed on how, I know even if you're just recovery curious, you have probably tasted some really dark times and you've probably tasted a lot of goodbyes with people that you love. And it's time for more light to be shed on there's other options, there's other ways to live, there's ways to actually live and not stay. And not everybody gets to make it out. And so that's why I'm passionate about this.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. How long was your how long were you using?
So when I was 14 is when I had my first cigarette, my first alcohol, my first weed experience. Um, and when I was 15, I had my first meth usage experience. And I I'm very neurodivergent, and I realize now as I'm older that I was just looking for a way to ease up like my, obviously we self-medicate for our childhood traumas, and I was trying to regulate myself and all the things. And I found that by way of substances and partying with my friends. And it was, I was doing Robitussin, I was doing Coricidin, I was doing Dramamine, like anything over the counter I could get my hands on because I couldn't always have access to other things. And so yeah, it started from 14 and just never stopped until, I mean, I stopped drinking and everything. I was a teen mom, so I stopped when I was 16 for about 10 months because I was pregnant and I had her, and then I ended up drinking again when she was a month old. And um, just I constantly was like dabbling in meth here and there along the way. And I was abusing prescription drugs. I was abusing, it was pretty much, I was a yes girl. Anything that was offered, I would say yes, aside from heroin. I did overdose once. We'll get into that on a different time on oxys because I was drunk and because I was like, yeah, I always do them. But yeah, so I was just a yes girl, constantly just doing it. And so then when I got pregnant with my second and only other child, is I was another space in time of using. And same thing when she was about 6 months, so it was a bigger gap when she was about 6.5 months, and I weaned her, then that's when I started drinking again. And and so then it was constant again, and I would try to quit drinking. I would get like to 19 days. I'd be so excited. So I'm like, I'm gonna celebrate. I'm gonna go get me a freaking case, get me a bottle. Or I'd go to the liquor store and be like, I'm just gonna get three bottles of wine and then I'll just have them for like a month. I'll just take it as a, a nightcap at night. They'd be gone the next day and I'd be so mad. I'd go through my phone and text the worst, like open doors that I've already sealed shut and nailed shut. And I'm like, let me just pry these right open because this is a great idea, drunk Abby. Like my drunk self never had my back. The spirits that occupied my body loved to just hang around and see what I was gonna put into my body so they could just take over. And it was years and years and years of that. And it wasn't until, um, so then about, let's see, 2014, I started using meth again heavily every day until 2019. And it was, I mean, if I was out, it wasn't like I would go, I was never to the experiences where I would take from others or anything like that. It was if I was out, I'd go a couple of weeks without and then, I'd have a dream about it and it would be like I'd always dream about it when it would come back into town.
Mm.
And it was so interesting. Like it's just one of those low vibe things that like knows what you need to see to like get back into it. And so um I finally just realized there's a lot of things, and we'll get into that another time, but finally in 2019, there was a lot of intense things happening. And we will also go over the things that like should have been the wake up calls, should have been the slaps to the face. I should have been the times I parted with it for good, but couldn't. But again, going back to that, it doesn't usually take somebody just one bad experience to quit. Some people are the exception to that rule. But from about 14 to 30, I was a heavy user. And even if the only times I would actually quit consistently is because I was building a life inside of me. How about you? When did you start using?
Yeah. So the first time I ever drank, I was 13 years old. Um, and it was in a hotel room in Lincoln, Nebraska. But we'll talk about that. Well, it'll be one of our stories that we talk about the first
Great.
time. Yeah, and it just, it was a weekend, every weekend, like basically since I was 13.
Mhm.
Every weekend, partying with friends, just drinking beers and just, doing the normal like, well, I guess I shouldn't say middle school life, but eventually got to the normal like high school thing where it's just partying. And it kind of just continued through college. It was drinking more and more in college. And then yeah, I went through so just basically some pretty fucked up years after college, and just drinking was just drinking. So alcohol was my like DOC. Like it was like I dabbled in other things, but I was never like fully blown off, like addicted, right?
Mhm.
And then got into I was in my first marriage was she was a drinker, and so it was totally justifiable to just get fucked up like every night. And then went through a pretty traumatic breakup, and that sort of escalated even more so my drinking, and then met my second wife, and she's a drinker, and so again just got right back on that that uncontrollable train, going 1,000 miles an hour down the tracks, no brakes. um and it got to the point where yeah, it wasn't just a every night thing. It was a a fifth a night, and then that was to get to the liquor store to get another fifth, and
Mhm.
then eventually it was, well, I'm just gonna wake up in the morning, and it started with like really Saturdays and Sunday mornings where it was just like wake up and I'd go to the liquor store and get another fifth, and just next thing you know, by noon that's gone, and it was
Mhm.
just it was just like a I don't know if you call it slippery slope or whatever, the Rolling Stone collects the moss or whatever those fucking things cliches are, but yeah, and then it just got to the point like maybe 2018, 2019. Yeah, it was like daily, just daily, like nonstop. And then COVID really fucked me up. You know, I just said I bought a house in 2018, or we bought a house in 2018, and the first thing I did was I built a bar in the garage, right? And I was laughing. You're talking about like I'm gonna go get 3 bottles and I'll have this for a while. Like I can't even count how many times I was like, I went to the store and I would buy a shit ton of booze because I wanted to have a liquor cabinet, right? And I'd have this cool liquor cabinet, and I'd have a couple of drinks here and there and be all classy, and like the liquor cabinet would be gone in 3 days. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Oh yeah,
Um,
that was bad news for me to have a liquor cabinet.
right? Like it, it's just my addict brain was just like, it was just controlled every aspect of my life, and so that was just
Right.
like a normal thought. Like, oh, cool, I'm gonna go spend another $250 at the liquor store and have, all these bottles and mixers and stuff. And that, 3 days later, I'd have a shit ton of mixers and no booze. You know what I mean? It's just it'd go
Right.
from classy drinking to just like taking shots. And then yeah, like ended up going to rehab in October of 2020. But I went there for all the wrong reasons. I went for everybody else. I got into an argument with my wife at the time in front of my parents, in front of my kid, and I was really ugly. And and I basically sort of had like an impromptu intervention. Like I went out to the garage, and my parents and she came out, and it was just like, "You need to go," and I was like, "Fine, get off my fucking dick. Like I'll go." But
Yeah.
I went then, but I went with for all the wrong reasons. I felt like I just needed like 30 days to get sober, blah, blah. We'll get into all the details later on. But like came back and I white knuckled it for like a year and a half and then relapsed. And that was the relapse was the worst experience of my life. It was like 8 months of I had to drink I had to drink a half a pint every hour on the hour, 24 hours a day. Because if I
Oh,
didn't, like if I would go past like that hour to hour and a half and I didn't have like booze in me, like, or I mean I guess fresh booze in me, yeah, I'd like start throwing up and I would just get the shake so bad and I started having seizures, like little mini seizures. And so I yeah, it was a thousand times worse than anything I experienced prior to that. And at this point, I was hiding it, sneaking it. I was, at least I thought. I'm sure everybody knew, but in my addict brain, I was like, I'm getting away with this. You know what I mean? Um,
right.
but eventually, like it all caught up with me, and in May of 2023 is well, I made the call to rehab, and I went for me, and I just kind of like I don't even really I don't even remember how I like broke the news, if I even broke the news at all to my ex-wife. Um, I was just kind of gone, I think. And yeah, but this time I went for the right reasons. Did a 180-degree. I just perceived everything in treatment 180 degrees differently than I did the first time. And
Oh
so,
yeah.
got a sponsor, did everything differently, went to sober living for 45 days after my 45 days in treatment, started working the steps, got a sponsor. That was May of 2023. So, here in a couple months, I'll be at 3 years.
That's
So,
incredible.
yeah, that's a fairly long-winded but quick
Yeah.
answer to your
The
question.
the quick rundown. We'll get into all the details soon.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
think it reiterates that whole truth that until somebody's ready to do it for themselves, you're really not going to get the same results.
yeah. And I agree wholeheartedly. Like, I, you know, we worked together at a treatment facility. I still work there. And, it's something that I just really, I talk about all the time with my clients. Like, the reality of it is like the motivation has to be internal. It can't be
Right.
coming from others. Now, not saying that if you're in treatment because you're mandated to, doesn't mean that it's not going to stick. But
Right.
you can easily, like, people can, well, not, I wouldn't say easily, but people can switch that mindset from I have to be here to I want to be here to I need to be here, right? In
Mm.
that process.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's basically my history in a nutshell.
Sharing all that. Yeah. I think that it's really amazing that you're still here, and I'm glad that you are. I'm glad that you made that choice for yourself.
Well, I appreciate it, and ditto, right? Like, I mean,
Thank you.
we were just kind of talking about this earlier before we attempted the first time to do our podcast before we had technical difficulties. But like, we were just talking like, imagine us. in when we were deep in it, like trying to
Mhm.
even coordinate something like this.
Right.
And if we actually managed to push record, what that would fucking look like. Like it would be,
Oh my God. And I'm sure it would have been silly and fun in a lot of different ways, but
yeah.
it would be encouraging
Well, and
and
it,
no growth.
yeah, and the podcast wouldn't be called "This is Why I'm Sober." The podcast would be like, "This is why you shouldn't fucking use," because
This is
look
why
at
you
these.
should be sober, because look at this fucking messes over here. For real though. It
Uh,
would have, and not if we got, we probably would have planned it so many times and then not even got the ball really rolling.
no, it
Or
would have all
we
just
did
been
and
drunk
just would have
talk.
been, yeah. Like we'll just have a few drinks before just to loosen up, and then the
Oh
next
yeah,
day, and I'd be hungover as fuck, and I'd be drinking a shot at 6 in the morning because
yeah,
that's what I did.
yeah. Well,
And going back, circling back. Oh, go ahead.
no, no, please.
Circling back to your last statement about what you've shared with clients and things at work, one of the that reminded me of one of the last things I got to share. I came in and sat. I was peer support specialist at this place, and I went in and sat during early recovery group to share with them a little bit about my journey. And that's one thing I shared with them as well that I think it's worth noting, and I'll say it again and again, of especially if you find yourself where you are legally having to do things and having to jump through the hoops. But I was just telling them, you're here because you have to be, and it's your free will at the end of this, what you do with it. If you go back into it, if you decide that, like, yeah, I'm finally free, I'm gonna go get me some, like a bottle or whatever, your DOC. Um, but I just encouraged them, like this is an opportunity, this time, this space, this pause where you can really see if it was benefiting you or not, or what like you said, like change that mindset to have it just be, oh, I'm so mad that I have to be here, to like, I'm here, so let's see what this time is about. Let's get to know myself, because you don't ever get to know yourself when you're drunk or high all the time. Like so much time passes, and I think all of us who have ever had addiction in our life know how fast, like time goes by fast anyway, but the days are non-existent.
Mhm.
It's such a weird feeling, and I know I'm tangenting now, but to go into a grocery store and have people talk to me and remember me, and I'm like, who the freak are you? Like, why are you talking to me? And how do you know my name? But I obviously made an impression on them. I obviously talked to them at some point,
Yeah.
and I don't recall it at all. Like, where the fuck was that day? I don't know.
Oh, look, it's Abby. Look at that crazy party girl. Yeah, she's so fun. And you're like, yeah, who are you?
Yeah, what? You're scaring me. I don't know you. I had a girl come
Yeah.
up to me when I lived in Las Vegas where she was like, we worked together at Hard Rock Cafe, and she comes up to me after, we'll go into this magical mystery tour another time, but we'd gone on it and I got kicked off of it because I got a little blackout. But she comes up to me at work the next week and she's like, "Hi, honey, are you doing okay?" She's like, "My name is so and so, and I just want you to know, like, I took care of you on the bus until we got you dropped off to your car." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I don't remember talking to you." And she's so sweet. And we're still friends on Facebook to this day. But I
Nice.
mean, it's just, and had I gotten into trouble and had somebody force me out of it, I probably would have had the same mindset of just being so fucking pissed, so annoyed that someone's going to tell me what to do, right? But at the end of the day, and I did. I mean, I had a DUI and I went right back to it like afterwards. It did not change my any of it. But after getting into recovery and getting into the recovery field and seeing people going through it, it really was eye-opening to me of just if people just even took that little shred of time, that little shred of pause for themselves, like you could unlock so many things about yourself, get to know yourself on so many different layers. And again, not the I'm having to do this, but like I get to do this. I can do this. And then if I decide I want to use again when I get done, then fine.
Yeah.
But it's hard with addiction. You can't, it's
Yeah.
a whole other
Yeah. I was
layer.
just gonna say, like, just even finding a moment to have that pause is the hardest thing. I mean, it's so hard because, like you said, we and I agree with you. I think that we cannot know who we truly are when we're deep in it, right? And I would even argue it goes even farther than that. That like at least for this addict, like my, the booze, like the booze that I was everything, like it controlled everything in my life. It told me on a daily, on an hourly basis, this is who you are, and you're never going to change. And so you might as well just keep the party going. The party when, you know, whatever at that point in my life, the definition of party was sitting in my garage by myself, like sneaking shots, and like,
Right.
I mean, what kind of party is that? Like, crying and just
Loathing
literally,
yourself or
yeah, like literally,
yeah.
like, wishing that I was just, I can't tell you how many times that I would think to myself as I'm taking another drink, I'm like, maybe this is the one that will fucking do it. That I will just keel over and just disappear, right? Because
Yeah.
it was just because it was like this weird cognitive dissonance where it's like my addict brain was like, yeah, this is who you are, like, yeah, like you're never going to change, just keep doing this, keep, and it just controlled everything. And I thought that I knew who I was because my brain, my addiction was telling me this is who I am.
Hmm.
But then I'd have these moments, these very, very, very small glimpses of clarity where I was like, I don't think this is who I really am. But the only way that I can actually get out of this is if I die, you know?
Yeah.
And
It seems
then,
like the best, easiest route.
yeah. And I'm sure we'll get into this, but like, when we use, like when I was drinking, it was just to escape everything, escape
Hmm.
reality. And when I'd have these moments of clarity, my brain still automatically went to what my addiction was telling me, escape. And what's the easiest way to escape? Just disappear, right?
Yeah.
But it was in these moments too that I'd have this thought of my kid growing up without a dad. And I couldn't shake that. I couldn't shake that thought, and um yeah, I mean, honestly, like, she's only 7. She doesn't know this, and I don't know if she will ever. Well, I'm sure she will know someday when she's old enough to kind of comprehend this stuff. But like, yeah, like I went for me. I went and got the treatment I needed for me. But fuck, if it wasn't for her, I don't know if I would have gone. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
kind of a weird
Oh,
dichotomy, but like,
I get that. Yeah.
but it's just so crazy, like how like, and I say how easy it is for for us to get like into this, like, or to be just to like fall victim to this disease, because I truly think it's a disease, and I'm sure we'll talk about this at some point.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
like, how easy it is to fall into this disease, but then I have to take a step back and be like, well, it really wasn't that easy. I put a lot of fucking work into this. I mean, I was
Time,
drinking
money,
for,
practice.
yeah, right. Like, I mean, I started when in 13, when I was 13. Click off this button.
Hmm.
Started when I was 13, and I, finally got sober when I was, what, 42. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's almost 30 years of like practice. I mean, yeah, I had a year and a half stint there where I was sober, but I mean, I mean, it was like dry drunk, like definition. Because I was white knuckling, man. Every day it was just like I was just everything I did was to just not think about booze, and it drove me to my relapse because I was
Yeah.
spending so much energy instead of like doing what I should have been doing, is like enjoying my sobriety and enjoying my recovery and like learning new skills and this and that. Like, I mean, I was out there like I like killed the lilac bushes because I was just like trying to like prune them, but I was just so fucking focused on like, don't drink, fucking don't drink, fucking don't drink. And the next thing I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I think I killed them all. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus.
Better. Yeah.
It's just an example of just like where my mind was at. So I don't even necessarily really think that I was like sober for that year and a half.
Well, that's just it. It's that grip of addiction where you know what you could be or should be doing, and can you do it? It's fucking hard.
Yeah.
Damn near impossible. It takes a lot of retries and practice and retries and falling on our faces and killing lilac bushes. And
Poor bushes. They eventually started growing back, but man, they were sorry.
they're like, ah,
sad
good
sack,
try.
sad sack of flowers.
Oh
But
man.
yeah. Anyway, well, my little thing popped up and said we have like 10 minutes left, and that was probably like 3 or 4 minutes ago.
We
So,
have 8 minutes and 17 seconds.
oh, look at
I have a
you.
timer on mine.
Oh my God. Fantastic.
So yeah, we'll touch on all of the things we've talked about today way more in depth.
Yeah.
We've definitely just scratched the surface today, and I'm sure I took us on little roundabouts too that'll I'll come back to. But I'm excited that we were able to share bits of ourselves. I think it does showcase that we do kind of know ball. We kind of know what we're talking about here because uh, not everybody makes it out, but some people do, and everybody can. It's
Yeah.
just a lot of fucking work and a lot of hope and prayers and love and tears and it doesn't look the same for everybody either. But I know this addict, and I know with your stories as well that um, we were definitely on the pathway and the trajectory of being the statistics.
Mhm.
And I often call myself that as a statistic beater because where I was at, my usage, my everything I was doing and lining up with, I should be dead or out in the streets, just still drunk or high. And so
Yeah.
recovery is possible. At the end of the day, it is possible, and you're not alone. And there's people that care and love you, but most importantly, like your innermost self cares and loves you, and that's what's going to pull you out of this is your innermost soul that's like, I want to live.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like I had two options, death or prison, right? And prison would have eventually, I would have died in prison because the behaviors that I was exhibiting were those were my only two outcomes. And
Yeah,
so
I
yeah,
forgot
and
that
I
part. Prison was an option too for me.
yeah, right. And I mean, I just yeah, and I feel like I beat the statistics as well because well, I'm obviously not dead and I'm not in prison.
Right.
So, I feel so blessed. Just so I'm so grateful that I'm able to sit here and you know, record this podcast with you and hopefully share
Likewise.
some good messages um and yeah, recovery is possible. And not only is it possible, it's better. Like
It's better. It's fun. It's
amazing.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so I guess we'll start wrapping it up. I think that we're planning on just we're gonna go ahead and share this podcast once we get it edited up a little bit. And so, at this point, like we are aware that this is our first, and we are aware that this is really rough, and it will get better. So, if you stuck with us through this point, we really appreciate it. And I guess we'll just throw it out to you. Like, are there any specific topics that you'd like for us to cover? Is there
Any
anything
questions
that
that you have?
any questions for sure? We're planning on like getting into a lot more stories, more moving forward. The episodes might be a little more fun and a little more laughing and a little more jovial. But we're planning on having some guests as well in the future. And but we're open to any feedback, any criticism. Um, we're resilient. We can take it.
Yes.
Even if you guys are like, this
We'll
is the
cry
worst
later
thing
with
I've ever
a cup of
seen.
ice cream.
Right. So, yeah. So, I guess we'll go ahead and conclude this. And I think that we gave our sort of um, statements of hope, right? Recovery is possible and it's amazing.
Yes.
So, with that said, we plan on doing this every week. And yeah, please, give us a like. I don't know if we're
Subscribe.
having, yeah, subscribe. Yeah, subscribe. It'll be on Abby's YouTube and my YouTube, and we'll put it on Facebook and all that. So, please interact with us. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you'd like to see. And with that said, I guess we will say goodbye.
See you later, alligators.
In a while, crocodiles. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Take
Thank
care.
you.
All right. Until next time.
Until next time.